Dandadan came through with a genuine masterpiece of an episode. The third core of Bleach is already a significant step up from the previous one in terms of quality. rezero clocked out 8 episodes in for some reason, and here's a new upcoming anime you need to look out for. Welcome back to another episode of This Week in Anime. Make sure to subscribe.
Yes! No!
Dandadan episode 7. Boy oh boy, what an episode. Now, I know I'm late and I know this isn't an animation breakdown, but I've been really busy with college work and I still am, so this is the best I can do. Episode 7 was easily the best episode from the show and a strong contender for the episode of the year title. Let's go over the production briefly, of course. Staying true to the being the best theme, this episode was the best looking episode from the show. There's no two ways about it. It was head and shoulders above the rest, and there's a reason for that. You see, anime episodes can be categorized based on their priority. Episodes can be low priority or they can be higher up on the priority ladder. This is of course from a production point of view. The actual content being adapted and the importance of the same doesn't necessarily have much to do with this division. For example, one of the best produced episodes from Bleach was filler. Priority in this context refers to the time and the talent allotted to an episode, and based on that definition, Dandadan episode 7 was about as high priority as it gets. One look at the staff list and things become obvious. Here's the thing, Dandadan is not a healthy production by any means. It was set up and wrapped up really quickly, and as a result, the episodes featured large animation direct accounts and fragmented directorial credits. And while the final product did look good, there were a few issues here and there, issues most casual fans wouldn't notice, but issues regardless. In between jank, the rare off-model drawings, small amounts of melt, the slight but persistent layout butchering, photography errors, etc, etc. Basically, this wasn't a perfect production because, let's be honest, what is at this point? Episode 7, however, was perfect. Let's not get into a philosophical discussion about whether or not perfection can actually be achieved. That's way too deep for a This Week in Anime video. These are basically my version of slop content. Remember what I said about Dandadan episodes featuring large animation direct accounts. Episode 1 had 18 in total, episode 3 had 19, episode 6 had another 18, and episode 7 had, let's see, 1. Well, technically 2. Hanao Kutani was an assistant AD, but Shuto Enomoto was basically the main AD. He practically did all of the AD work. And that's not all. Enomoto was the star of this episode. He was the creative core of it. Besides pretty much being the sole AD, he was also the sole storyboard artist, the clothing and prop designer, and one of the main key animators for this episode. He was even involved with the creation of some of the 3D layouts. It is, however, worth noting that despite basically doing all of the work by himself, he was not the episode director. Kotaro Matsunaga was, and it's difficult to determine how much of his input made it to the final product since the episode was so Enomoto-pilled. More about Enomoto, he is an extremely prolific artist. I was made cognizant of his true abilities by Heavenly Delusion. He was a central figure in that show's animation despite the ridiculous talent pool it had, and that says a lot. Enomoto has worked with Science Saru before. He did quite a bit of key animation work for Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken and a few other titles. About the episode itself, it was absolutely fantastic. The action in the first half was wonderful. The dynamic yet sensible storyboards created a thrilling sequence that had me on the edge of my seat. Even the spirit was fully hand-drawn, because again, high priority episode, although the CG used throughout this show has been great. Enomoto's animations/corrections were eye-catching. His ability to draw in a volumetric manner is really impressive. Through strong drawings and meticulous line placements, Enomoto makes the characters appear three-dimensional. The characters are flat, the animation is 2D, everything you see on screen is flat, but they are made to look volumetric, and Enomoto does that not through an over-reliance on shadows and hatching, but instead through the placement and curvature of the outlines. This stands out even more in Dandadan because the character designs were specifically made to be drawn in a a volumetric manner. That's what character designer Naoyuki Onda is known for. Besides that, the amount of movement was heavy, the layouts were spacious and complex, and the drawings were wonderful. The use of color was the best since episode 1. The pink tone was executed perfectly. The lines popped out in all the right places. You see, a higher priority doesn't just benefit the animation, it also gives a buff to other departments such as the color and the compositing team, and it shows. Compare this episode to the subsequent two and you'll see the difference. The use of yellow and green in episodes 8 and 9 look washed out, one note and bland. It doesn't feel deliberate, it looks like someone just slapped a colored hue on top of the animation and called it a day, which is probably what happened thanks to the tight deadlines. Back to episode 7, the second half was genuinely one of the most compelling and well-directed things I've watched in a minute. The amount of visual storytelling crammed into this one section was mind-blowing. The team didn't spoon-feed you information, it let you, the viewer, interpret things. The money on the table tells us what her line of work is. Her longing look at the dress tells us that she wants to buy it for her daughter but can't afford to. The literal light appearing on screen as the door opens symbolizes her daughter being the light of her life. This guy looking at the envelope of money, the same envelope she took money out of to buy the dress, tells us why the things on screen are happening. They are shady debt collectors or pimps and she owed them money, so she went into that line of work. Disaster struck when she took some of that saved up money out to buy that dress for her daughter. Because of that, she couldn't pay those guys back in time, leading to bad things, heartbreaking things. A complete story told almost entirely through visual storytelling. Incredible. Again, the direction was so good. The music was phenomenal as well. The piano score was brilliant and playing a corrupted version of it near the end was genius. I genuinely did not expect an episode of that caliber from this show, I really didn't. It was insanely good. Yes, I have placed it in my list of well-directed episodes, alongside the likes of 86 episodes 22 and 23, the last two Attack on Titan episodes, literally everything Shota Goshizono has ever directed except for that one JJK episode, and more. Not to shill my own content, but like I said that one time, production value is really important, and without it, episodes like these wouldn't exist. They just wouldn't. And speaking of production values, Bleach 1000-Year Blood War Core 3 has been quite impressive. It's a significant step up from Core 2, and while yes, Core 1 Episode 6 is still the best thing this arc has produced and it's not even remotely close, this core has genuinely surprised me. Episode 7 featured a large amount of movement and dynamic storyboards that made clever use of 3D backgrounds. Yuki Sato animated a long dynamic action sequence which was a joy to watch. She is also the one responsible for my personal favorite sequence from this core so far. The episode also featured some incredible effects drawn by Hidetsugu Ito, who is a master of effects animation. Even this running sequence was well drawn and wonderfully volumetric, so much so that some mistook it for a no-credit Hiroyuki Yamashita sequence. It wasn't, it was animated by this individual whose name I won't attempt to pronounce. And if your work gets mistaken for Hiroyuki Yamashita's, you're on the right track. The episode was directed and storyboarded by Dali Shen. I hope I didn't butcher that, although I definitely did. Shen has been heavily involved with this title since Core 2, but this was his storyboarding debut for the project. And like I said, the storyboards were dynamic and modern for lack of a better term. Wonderful episode all around, I hope they can keep this up. Alright, so why did ReZero stop airing 8 episodes in? Why did I not know about this? The remaining episodes will air next year in the month of February and it's a massive shame. ReZero and healthy release schedules, some things just don't go together. Again, it's a shame because things were kicking into high gear, literally. I swear to God, if this was any other novel, I would have caved in and read it already, but again, like I've said in the past, the novel is literally 5 times longer than the Bible, which is somehow a real statistic. A 2-month wait it is then, nothing we can do about it. I hope at the very least they can maintain the quality. The first 8 episodes looked strong, stronger than the previous season, although I don't remember the latter all that well. Let's also briefly talk about Blue Lock. I know I said I wouldn't, but just for a second. Here's a suggestion. I think they should make the matches fully 3D at this point. They use plenty of 3D shots as is, might as well go all the way. Would it look better? No, but at least we'd be able to tell what's happening in the match, because as of right now, I have no idea what's going going on in the field, I am depending almost entirely on the verbal depictions of the actions provided by the characters, which is such a depressing thing to say. Look, I don't think Blue Lock is good. I don't think it's a good anime, and I don't think it's a good manga. But regardless of how much I dislike it, it doesn't deserve this. Of course, I'm not hating on the staff. Trust me, they are trying their best, and I highly doubt that any of them are satisfied with the final product. I think it's good that the substandard quality has raised a lot of eyebrows online. Maybe this negative reception will motivate the higher-ups to improve production conditions in upcoming sequels, although that rarely happens historically speaking.
When I met you in the summer.
Here's a new anime you need to look out for. The Summer Hikaru Died is a promising anime adaptation of a seemingly well-received manga set to air in the spring of 2025. It's directed by Ryohei Takeshita of Eromanga Sensei, and more recently, Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night fame, and the core staff is quite strong. Yuichi Takahashi is in charge of the designs and supervision. He is an incredible animator and has a fairly sizable character design resume. Masanobu Hiraoka has a core animation credit, and his morphing animation is a treat for the eyes. Remember Chainsaw Man ED9? All him. Director Takashita himself is a name worth talking about. He has a thing for realistic compositing. He usually directs the photography team to make shots look like they are filmed through a real lens, and this project is no different. Anime, just as a whole, has what I like to call the summer composite. It's that look where the bloom and exposure is turned up and the contrast is decreased to make the scenes look summery. Bonus points for digital heat waves. This anime is also leaning into that look, but it's dialing things up. The photography looks interesting to say the least. I'm looking forward to it. And that just about does it. Press the subscribe button, click on this video, I think it should be here, and that's about it.